done, I'm gonna write it in the chat so y'all can give yourself a chance to share it, and then we'll go. Then I'll say for y'all to show y'all videos so we can
One.
start.
Okay. Good evening to each of you, and welcome to A Father's Love Language, Part 3, this series. This is a grand finale of a dialogue that has been rich, robust, informative, positively impactful, insightful, corrective to a degree, motivational, and most definitely life evolving. All minds and hearts on one accord, we'd like to start this event platform off with prayer. May we all bow our heads. Heavenly Father, the first and the last, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. We humbly present ourselves to you this evening in gratitude, thanking you for all things and complaining of absolutely nothing. For us to be here within itself is a major feat, and we walk this out in gratitude. For everything that is going on around us, you are all knowing. Every societal issue, every pandemic issue, virus, anything that is going on, you are all knowing. We ask you to be exactly what we need for you to be in this moment to ensure our safety, our livelihood, our stability, and our forward progression. May we advance to a place where we coexist peacefully, an agape love, an unbridled and generous love that we give to each other for the betterment of us, not I, not me, but we. And may we realize the next level of living in your precious Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
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 I want to start off this platform by welcoming. I believe in paying respectful homage. So, to all of the panelists who are here, I think, Mr. Adams, you're the only one who's repeat at this point. But I definitely want to pay respect to Florida Senator Bobby Powell in your leadership capacity for you to present and spend your time and devote to this forum. We greatly appreciate it and welcome you for what you will share. I want to, before I present to Jacoby, I'm going to lay some ground rules generally so our audience will kind of understand how things are going to flow. The first thing we're going to do after Jacoby speaks is allow each panelist to introduce himself as he desires. We're trying to keep the myriad of responses that are going to be coming to 2 minutes. So if you could do 2 minutes or less, that would be appreciated. I'm asking everyone now to please silence your cellulars and your electronics. We want to be very mindful about the movement on the screen, in and out, and things of that nature. So we have a very tailored and professional look and feel to this. We ask that you have a pen and a piece of paper, or some that are savvy, if you have your cellular, to take notes. It is very important as we're listening to others, especially when things resonate with us. You want to jot it down. If there's a perspective you want to give, because that opportunity will be available to you, we ask that you be ready to do that in a very succinct and organized way. No ambiguity or nuances. Let's be very clear and direct about what we're saying, understanding that our audience is wide ranging and we want to make sure that everyone walks away with a good understanding. The questions are going to go to a specific person. I will identify you and ask you the question or make a statement to you directly. If there is someone else on the panel who would like to respond to that question, all you simply have to do is raise your hand. I will make note of it. And then once that individual has answered and I counter or respond back to them, I will allow you the opportunity to give your take as well. Remembering the 2 minute or less spectrum is where we're going. I want you to leave here with something, because all of you are amazing in your own rights. I've done my homework, I've done a little research, put on the PI hat, and you have a lot to give. But I don't want it to be one-sided. I want it to be multi-dimensional. So as well as you're giving, I want to make sure that you're receiving. So at the end of this, I'm going to ask you to give me a few pearls of wisdom that you have gleaned from this conversation as well. I want you to feel free to seek clarity from me. I'm very analytical. I do go deep. I preface this situation with that. but I'm very giving inside of that. And I welcome you to pass if you need to, or instead of coming off the cuff and it's not really the answer you want to give, I welcome you to ask for a few minutes and I'd be more than happy to come back to you. Are there any questions?
Oh, ma'am.
With that, we're going to shift to none other than Jacoby Waters, the CEO, the executive director, the man with the plan of the Young Men of Distinction. I'm so proud of you. You had a vision, God gave it to you, you executed it and brought it to fruition. Job well done. None other than Jacoby D. Waters.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody that's watching at home. Welcome to the third edition of A Father's Love Language. I'd like to thank these great kings I'm sitting on the panel with this evening. It's truly an honor and a privilege to sit amongst such, great men that's doing many great things, not only being fathers, but also being community activists, many other titles they may wear. But so I'm very humble and appreciative. I'm also thankful to Sabrina for letting me have my vision and supporting my vision and being our lovely moderator for these three A Father's Love Language. So again, I thank everybody, and I'm just ready to dive in and learn from these great men and fathers I'm sitting with tonight.
All right, you amazing Black kings. Are you ready? Senator Powell, we're going to start with you. This is a quote from Will Smith, and it says, "There is so much negative imagery of Black fatherhood. I have tons of friends that are doing the right thing by their children. Why is that not newsworthy as well? Why does the imagery have to be so negative?" What would your response be?
My response would be, I'm glad you asked that question and we want to talk about that. The images that we see are the media that is controlled is a media that's not controlled by people who look like you. The idea, okay, background is I'm a graduate of both Florida A&M University and Florida State University. But when we look at images and you talk about images, you want to see images that look like you in order to push positivity. And the media portrays what bleeds is what leads. I have a degree in journalism. And I can tell you this real quickly. I'm a big fan of Earl Graves Sr., who is the publisher or the former publisher, the late publisher of Black Enterprise magazine, which was one of the few publications, him and John H. Johnson, Ebony magazine, that highlight Black people in a positive light. When you don't have images like that, when you don't see that, when you don't know history, when you don't know about Madam C.J. Walker or a number of other people in our history, Carter G. Woodson, who have made contributions, then it's hard for us to learn to love each other, learn ourselves, love ourselves. And until we start owning some of the media, until we start doing like Shanitria Moore, who is the publisher of She Holdings, but it's, I can't think of the name right now, but it's the calendar for Black men. Until we start making sure that's a priority to push those images, then we'll continue to see the negative images. Although I do have a lot of friends who are professionals who are doing great things, but they don't get highlighted because that's not what leads in the media.
And I would have to say that's absolutely true, considering what is going on with him and Jada at this point. There was no shortage of memes and negative publicity and everything else. And it really served to dilute them as parents and everything else that they've done in a very positive way. I want to ask you, and we're going to tailor this out with you going a little bit backwards, but I'm going to give you an opportunity at the end to really introduce yourself in that way. But I want to ask you, for those who have platforms, for those who have shows, for those who have social media accounts and all of these different things, I see a lot with TikTok and everything else, but I'm not being condescending or negative, but a lot of it is just more humor and more to, get likes and everything else. What is a good word that you can speak to these individuals listening as a form of encouragement to use their platforms more specifically and directly to honor what we're doing in our community?
I hate to interject. Project 12 is the name of the calendar that Shanitria Moore publishes, and I'll just jump right in there. What is a good word or good work to share with people? I'm sorry, I missed that part.
That's okay. It's a good word, W-O-R-D. So what form of encouragement would you give them that you have these outlets, you have these platforms? Let's use them in a positive and promotive way.
Easy. Now is a time where so much information is available, so many technologies, people have podcasts. You have to seek it out, but you can ask those of us who are in professional settings. I'm in professional settings with a lot of people sometimes, and you wouldn't believe that some of the people that you hold to these high standards, you are very much in terms of competitive with them in terms of intellect. So I would say sometimes seek out some of the knowledge. When you know someone who's doing well in your community, I'm an easy person to talk to, although you hear the title. If you approach me, it's not this pedestal that I sit on. It's an opportunity to see somebody. I'm right out of Riviera Beach. I grew up on 32nd Street between O and R. And I'm a normal, I say a normal dude, but I've been able to rise to the level of state senate because other people pushed me and believed in me. So I got a chance to sit here. So the word I would say for everybody is don't ever minimize yourself because somebody else around you has minimized themselves. Don't let somebody else's perception of you become your own reality. You are greater than you can ever imagine. Maya Angelou talks about this in her book where she says her mother said to her that, baby, you are amongst one of the most greatest women to ever walk on the face of this earth. When we start preaching that to our children and start saying that to ourselves, positive affirmations, then we'll be able to walk into our greatness.
I believe I've taken several pearls from you, but I'm going to co-sign the individual that you are. Because I don't know if you recall or not, but a year or so ago, I approached you at a wedding and you did not know me. I said, I know who he is by seeing you. So I approached you just to see how you would receive me. And you were so humble. You were just so gracious. And you talked to me, you were digging around for your card. You like, I really want you to call me. You know, it was just that kind of conversation. But you left a very positive impression on me. So thank you for being that humble to be approachable to the people. And
well,
we're going to close this out. Is there anyone else, while Senator Powell is sharing about his background, is there anyone else who'd also like to add to this question? Go ahead, Senator.
Yes. I was thinking about the negative images surrounding the Black or the African-American father, as well as the platform that we have. These negative images have been played for years, hundreds of years, against African Americans. Always clear. But anyway, these images have been played. And now that we have this platform, anything that you do is considered to be something that's noteworthy. We need to change where our media is coming from. The people who need the help are really not on Zoom meetings like these. They're really not on social media as much. We need to be out in the public, speaking to the people, because there is always an opportunity to do something good for someone. And don't look at it as, oh, I'm doing something good and I want praise for it. No, continue to do those little things. Like Brother Baines, I seen him buying lunch for people. That's something good in the community that other people will see. And sometimes you might have to go down on that street corner and give that person that meal. But these negative images have been here for hundreds of years. They're in every system of our life. So we've got to change how we get this news of what we should be communicating to our families, our children, because like the senator said, the media is only giving you what they want. If we want our families to experience the right type of educations, we need to give it to them rather than let someone else do it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adams. Mr. Cowell, I saw your hand up as well. unmute yourself for us?
Yes. Sorry about that. I thank you for everybody that shared on that, because all I can think about is, like, we're all media now. You know, everyone could be media. So I'm the type of person that like to take responsibility. So it's my responsibility as an individual to make sure that I'm putting out facts. It's okay to joke around, but what you're joking around with is important. You know, so I have to be very mindful of the way I carry myself in the media, right? Which is Instagram, Facebook, wherever you want to call it. It's all media, you know. So, and one thing I thought about, what came to my mind is, it takes a village. You know, growing up in New York, and there was family members that my friends' family members took care of me, you know, and I just relate that to even the media. It's my responsibility to make sure that I'm putting out worthy stuff to the young men, the young women that's I'm connected with, and not even connected with, you know, even the enemies, you know, so to speak, or the people that doesn't believe in what I believe in. I got to make sure that I'm just being positive all the way through. That's how I see it. So it's a great responsibility for me individually.
Excellent. Mr. Baines?
Oh wow, that y'all are saying some amazing things. I would just say that just your purpose in life. I would say that as men, a lot of times we don't really recognize our purpose, and sometimes we look at purpose as singular, and it's always plural. You know, somebody is always dependent upon your success to know that they don't have to fail. So people are literally watching us to see how we get through our adversity, to know that they could get through theirs. And so with social media, just use your purpose. I've been saying through this pandemic that there's purpose in the pandemic. I really believe that God allowed this destruction to birth devotion. And I believe that in this time with social media and with everything going on, use your purpose, because we all have a purpose and we all have talent and we're all unique. So just use it. And like he said, you know, you might joke around, but what are you joking around about? And that's my take on it. And showing that to our kids, you know, that times are changing, and you know, just take it more serious about what you put on social media, because jobs are watching you. A lot of people who are working at home, you know, they think that, you know, they can do whatever they want to do while they're at work, working from the computers. But you better believe these jobs are watching you. They're seeing what you're doing. So you have to be very careful about what you put on social media and that energy you give out on social media. Thank you.
Excellent. Mr. Robinson?
Yes, I just want to add that one thing we have to do is be out, like the gentleman said, be our own media. So anytime we see someone doing good, doing a good deed, we need to capture it. We need to capture it and send it into the news stations, video record it and send it into the news stations, and also share it on social media. You know, we're always seeing people sharing fights and crime and all these other things. We always sharing the negatives, but what about the positives? All the positives that are going on. Let's stop our vehicles, stop our feet, stop our bikes, take a picture, record, post it, send it to the news outlets. Let's flood them with the positives, and then they have no choice but to show it. News companies sit around and listen to a police scanner. So that's what they do. They listen to the negatives that's coming on. Soon they hear, okay, there's a murder. There's a robbery. They go in there. So we have to give them the positive. So we have to be our own positive media and stop flooding the media, the social media with negatives, and share all the wonderful positive things that we are doing, regardless if they're small positives or large positives.
I agree totally. And what I'd like to do, because I'm very big on solution-oriented approaches, is I'd like to ask for all the organizations represented here, why not pool your resources and use your youth to do public service announcements that are positive? What do you think about that, Jacoby? What do you think about that?
I think that's an amazing idea, and especially the beauty of this this tonight with Jamarcia. He has a men's organization that's catered to young men and mature adults. With LeVar, he has Fathers on a Mission. You have Donald that has Finding Fathers. So all these male organizations, and then Tyrone with Team Nubian, like I said, all these male organizations that's currently sitting right now, this is the time where we can't control our narrative. We can't control our destiny. And I wanted to answer Sabrina's question in regards to how we are portrayed. We have to, I believe, I'm a firm believer of we have the power to control our narrative. We blaming media for our narrative, but that's what we're allowing the media to see. Versus if we all wake up as a community, it's a lot of positivity that's going on. And we got to be the ones that's the driving force. As LeVar said, we got to be the driving force to show all the positivity. Every single man that's on this panel, this event alone should be worldwide. It should not be just regional. It should be worldwide because this is a message that needs to get heard and heard from the standpoint of African American fathers versus we have media portraying and depicting what African American father is like. So that's my response.
And I'm going to call each of you to task today. And reasonably within the next 3 months, I think it's very doable. I hope you do as well, that at least one PSA is produced. We really have a lot more control of how we are projected and portrayed than we really assume responsibility for. We kind of just let things play out and let things happen. But these are facets of our history and our movements that we certainly can control. So I call you to task this evening. Within 3 months, as much wisdom, knowledge, resources, and everything else that are represented here, let's at least have one, maybe 2 PSAs out within the next 3 months. So that's, I'm calling you to task. Senator Powell, are you here with us? So we're gonna move on when he comes back in. There he is.
Oh man. Well, what happened was my phone knocked out, whatever, and I had to do it on the computer. So you see my background.
Well, we're right here with you.
But I'm back with you all.
Okay. I didn't want to leave you without giving you the chance to formally introduce yourself, if you would, please.
Of course, I am Bobby Powell Jr., the state senator representing Senate District 30 in Palm Beach County. Grew up here in Palm Beach County, went to high school at Palm Beach Gardens High School, former track and field athlete, former football player, all conference, all state, all of those good things. But I mean, it came from progression. I like to say that even as a state senator, I started out, my first job, I worked at Papa John's and Eckert Pharmacy at the same time, making minimum wage. And while I was in college, I pushed carts at Walmart, only realizing and recognizing that one day I would be much more than I was at that point. So anytime I see a kid pushing carts at Walmart or Target or wherever they are, I know that they've got the potential in them to be much more than where they are today. That's that idea where I say, don't let someone's perception of you become your reality, because many times I would have people say to me, well, push the carts up further, cart boy, you ain't nothing but a person who answers the phone at Papa John's. But if you let somebody direct your story for you, guess what? That's where you will be. So today I'm a state senator. I'm an AICP certified planner. I am a father. I'm a husband. And I'm all around just reminding myself to remain humble, be a good dude, because of the people who I come in contact with, I have the ability and opportunity to change their lives so that they can be much more than what they are and get to where they need to be.
We are inspired by you. I did do my homework on you, and I want to say thank you for your service. Definitely.
Thank you for what y'all are doing.
Mr. Jamarcia Baines, I'm going to take it to you.
Yes, ma'am.
There is a quote that I love, and it pertains to fatherhood. And it says, "A truly rich man is one whose children run into his arms even when his hands are empty." I want you to digest that for a moment and give us how that resonates with you. What do you get out of
Wow, it's amazing. Being a minister, one of my favorite scriptures is Malachi 4:6, where it says, "And he shall turn the heart of the fathers back to the children, and turn the children's hearts back to the fathers." And I think that's exactly what we need, and that's what we're missing. Because if you continue on that verse, it says, "Lest I come down and smite the world," and I think that's exactly what's wrong with the world. I think the fathers, our hearts aren't in the right place with our children, so they don't know how to grasp to us anymore. And I think that it's time for fathers to take their rightful place again. I really believe that, especially as African American fathers, if we change that narrative and really pour into our children, really pour our hearts into our children, I believe that even if we're poor, they will run to us because they know our integrity. They know what we are about. They know that daddy cares. And I really believe that verse is speaking to us right now in our time. So I would just say, as fathers, man, just pour your hearts out into your children. It's really time for fathers to take back our rightful place. Too many mothers are still holding the torch, and it's time for us to hold the torch. I mean, they've been holding us down since the beginning. It's time to hold them down and hold our children down, so that if we are poor, our children will still run to us and know that daddy's going to get it done. He will find a way, a legal way, but he will find a way to get it done. So I just think we should pour our hearts back into the children.
Amazing and very insightful response. And for those who would like to respond, just put your hands up and I will take note of it. I want to respond to you, Jamarcia, and I want to say everything about society right now is visual, and it's a concocted message of materialistic gain, the shoes, the clothing, the name brand, all of these different things. But I thought this particular quote was so profound because it's saying even when your hands are not empty. So that means you have to command the respect and love and consideration of your children. So even when you don't have, anyway, even when daddy cannot do a particular thing or provide a particular thing, I still have love, respect, and appreciation for him. And I want another person, Mr. Crum, I'll go to you. How do you command that in your children? How have you advanced to a place of commanding that?
Again, my name is Thomas, and I thank you guys for allowing me to be on this panel. I do not hold any positions or any panels or any groups or organizations. What I am is a man of God. I am the leader. I am the guy that goes out and touch that one soul that's lost. And go back to that question. It started with me a long time ago. I can remember being about 6 or 7 years old, raising a family of 5. I am the black sheep. But my stepdad, I saw how he treated the family, how he treated the neighborhood, and how the people had respected him. I've seen this at 5 years old. And in my mind, I said, that's the man that I want to be. You know, it wasn't about me having riches and all of that. It was the respect that I saw that they give him, the love that they gave him. It was like they just hoard around my father, which was my stepdad. I didn't get treated like the other 4 because I was the black sheep, and I also, went astray. But I always had in my mind, I'm going to be like that man. That's the man I want to be like. My children, I have 2 daughters and I have 1 son. I'm always emulating from what I see the positive where they can see. And when they need not that material thing or just that insight or that answer, my phone rings. They call me, tell me that they love me. They ask me, what do they think about this? And it goes back to something I read in the Bible where it says God's will is 2 or more in agreement. I always went on just one thing. But when I met up with positive influence people like you, it made me look at life a lot different. It's like, my way is not the right way. So, let me ask Mr. Baines. Let me ask Mr. Cartwell. Let me ask Mr. Adams. And you guys, gave me that insight to be able to walk that walk. You know, I hold myself accountable everywhere I go. I'm always trying to do good. No, I'm not trying to do good, doing good, being positive. I don't like drama. When I do hear it, I try to flip it around and try to, let them see it another way because it's all in your mind. I don't want that stuff in my mind, so I don't put that in their mind. What I put in their mind is what they see me doing. And what they see me doing, that I want to do that. I'm going to be like that because I've been watching my son. He was like, one of those little slouch potatoes when I had him living with me for a while. And he see the way that I live. And now he got his own place, and he was like a little slouch potato. But when I started visiting more frequently, the house was a lot tidier, a lot more cleaner, a lot more fresher. So I see him moving forward, doing the things that, taking care of himself. But I'm going to team up with Brother Ty. Like I said, I'm a one-man show. I'm a vessel that, wherever God put my 2 feet and whoever he put in front of me, I'm always trying to bless, pay it forward, do whatever I can. But I never sat, besides in a group, in other rooms, because I was going to be a counselor like Brother Ty, but I chose another route. And I still do that, but I do it one-on-one where he puts me at. But I'm going to hook up with Brother Ty somewhere down the road, and we're going to be able to do this thing together. So thank you, guys. And, man, I tell you, I got a lot from all of y'all just now. I'm full.
I want to say something that resonated with me and that you hold yourself accountable. I speak about this all the time because a lot of individuals, especially men, I have to say, and I'm not being biased, are do as I say, not do as I do. I know what I did, but this is what I'm telling you to do. And I have to say, young people these days, our youth, our teens, they are very observant. They're going to call you on it. And they're going to have an expectation of, how are you going to tell me how to do this? Or how are you going to call me on this or discipline me on this? And I see you doing the same thing. It is such a tremendous mixed message and it's hugely deserving. So as you walk the walk and talk the talk, always be accountable and responsible. So thank you for that. Is there anyone else that has a comment on that? Yes, sir, Mr. Adams.
Yeah, it's a truly rich man is one whose children run into his arms, even when his hands are empty. I started to think about times where I want to do something nice for my children, like say a gift for Christmas or something like that. And it might not have been the gift that they wanted, but it was some type of gift, and they probably loved that gift more than the gift that they actually wanted. My children give me this immense amount of energy, power, and happiness and love. And just to know that they look up to me or depend on me or look for my guidance and run to my arms, even if I'm empty-handed, that is powerful. It makes me feel good. I want my kids to experience something very similar. Don't be so caught up on materialistic things of the world, but be ready to accept the people you love with open arms, even if their hands is empty. It's necessary. I feel rich just having my kids around. That's why I fight so hard to be a part of their life, because it makes me wealthy. None of this material stuff does anything for me. It's my children and the love of my children, the esteem that they have for me, that keeps me going.
Awesome. Salute to all of you. Excellent answers. And I have gleaned from you as well regarding this. Jamarcia, I want to come back to you and allow you to close this particular segment out with an introduction regarding yourself.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Well, my name is Jamarcia Baines. I'm married. I have a 1-year-old daughter who just turned 1 last month. I started a Total Man Integrity, TMI, started 2018. And I just wanted to bring maturation, motivation, and manifestation to the lives of men. We're based off of 7 pillars: physical health, mental health, relationship goals and advice, for financial stability, legacy, purpose, and faith. And we believe that with those 7 pillars, you can become the total man. As I mentioned, I'm a minister. I've been a minister for a year. So, God has called me to definitely preach his word and be a vessel, kind of like Brother Thomas. So that's about me. I also was a football player, track, track player. So I'm gonna have to get with Senator Powell and see what he's about. You know, Texas, we take that serious out here now. But I'm just excited to be a part of this call. And brother Jacoby, me and him linked about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we talk every day. And we've teamed up with TMI and Young Men of Distinction. And I just believe that 2 are better than 1 because they have a good report for their labor. And I believe we're putting in labor right now.
Absolutely. And I want to say it's an excellent representation to the community. I actually look forward to this platform and those like it, because women, we have cornered the market with empowerment. We do all type of empowerment events. We're just customarily in that vein, but not so much with men. But I have to say, when men speak, you command our attention. You have no idea how much, in a sense, we idolize you. We want to hear your words. We want to hear from you. And these forums are essential in that regard. So for everyone who's doing a great work in their own capacity, men, kings, Black men, please continue. It is definitely needed. And that's my encouragement to you. So, Mr. Robinson, let's go here. Nothing can stop the man with the right mental attitude from achieving his goals. Nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude to achieve his goals. I'm going to read this again because this is a quote. Nothing can stop the man with the right mental attitude from achieving his goals. But nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude from achieving his goal. That is a quote by Thomas Jefferson. So the question is, how have you, or how would you try to address detrimental and destructive behaviors in your children?
Oh, that's good. Thank you for having me this evening. Thanks for that question. That's a great one. One thing I do believe in is using my past, my way of life, growing up to this day as at least a model scale of what I can learn from. Just knowing that times when I had the wrong attitude, the wrong answers, not necessarily the wrong answers, but the wrong way of speaking, the wrong way of acting, didn't do anything positive for me. So myself, I grew up without a father. My father was never in my life by choice. I even tried to reach out to him as a youngster, even as a young man, as an adult. It just didn't happen. So a lot of things I had to learn on my own. I did 6 years in the Navy on submarine force. I learned a lot of things through there, watching the Cosby Show, watching some of these great shows we had back in the early 90s and 80s. Just taking pieces by pieces and learning, and from a lot of hard lessons learned. It helped me form the man I am today, which I'm still working on that also. But I take that and I use it at least as a bare minimum of that. If I want my kids to be better than me, then they have to do better than me. And so I keep that in mind because I have a goal of support solutions, right? That's my thing. # support solutions. I'm solution geared minded. But one thing I let them know, I teach them things that I was never taught. A lot of things that I learned that I wasn't taught, that I believe I should have learned. I teach them that at an early age. I believe the earlier, the better. Even when they're in the stomach, you start talking to them, you start teaching them. I want kids to be successful. In order to be successful, we have to enhance it. One thing I tell kids that you are great. We all are great. Everybody that on this world, people that are in jail, who have committed murders, they are great. But what makes the difference is how you enhance your greatness. So one thing that's one of the things I do is go to schools and do sessions on enhancing your greatness. And that's the big factor of it, right? So I enhance my kids by teaching them things at an early age. There's no set age where I'm gonna wait until they're 15 or 18 or 19 and teaching them. No, I'm gonna start off before society tells them the wrong thing, because once society tells them something, now we have to battle with what society has taught them, which is the wrong way. So what I do is, I take the lessons that I've learned from life and what I see and what I've been through, and teach them at an early age of how they should live to be successful. Because success is out there. Greatness is out there. But we got to go out there and get it. You got to be hungry. I stay hungry. That's why I do what I do in the community. I tell people, you know, hurdles gonna come. Hurdles are gonna come, whether by your own people, other people, animals, buildings, whatever. Hurdles gonna come. It's about how you get over them hurdles, how you get through them hurdles. You can't stop. It's out there. You got to go get it. You know, there are millions and millions of examples of guys who have been knocked down. And we can use one person, for example, that everybody know about that's of modern day time, Dr. E.T., Eric Thomas. He did, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years in jail, got his doctorate degree in prison. And now he's the leading motivational speaker in the world, making millions of dollars. But yet he was just an inmate eating out of trash cans before he got locked up and so forth. He's a great, powerful motivational speaker at that. He has a very great examples, a very powerful man. I let that enhance what I already do, right? Some of the things that he shared, it only enhance that. So I take that, I take what God says, I take what I hear from back when I was little, take what's being shared on this video, and I take that and I let it enhance myself so that I can enhance my kids. I'm not gonna wait until they're 18, okay, now, let me teach you about life. It's too late. So we got to start early. So that's what I do. I enhance them. I want them to be better because everybody's already great. We all, I don't care if you're white, black, pink, purple, we all are great. It depends on if your parents feet pour into you to help you go up, or if they don't pour into you and you go down. So that's what I say. We enhance our kids. That's what I do. Enhance my kids, enhance their greatness.
I want to thank you for that presentation, and I took several things from it, but I'm going to emphasize two things. Number one, you brought it full circle, and that is greatness is within us. We all have greatness lying dormant somewhere within us, even at an early age, but someone has to direct us to purpose. If someone had directed me to the understanding that I really needed to dig inside of my life and my personality styles and my attributes and all of that, and figure out, I'm on assignment here. What does God desire for me to do? If I had tapped into that at a young age, oh my goodness, I would have soared even more so or earlier than I took off. But I also want to say this, there's forgiveness inside of parenting and childhood, because I've had to forgive individuals for what they did not know. Yes, they should have told me. Yes, they should have given this to me. But I had to sit down and say, even at this point in time, I'm now educating them. They didn't know. So I can't hold that against them. So when we know better, no matter what point you are in your life, that's when we're charged with doing better. But we have to be very realistic and very dedicated to forgiving people who could not give us select things because they didn't have it to give. Now I want to throw a curveball at you. I find this a lot on the therapeutic spectrum, and it could be a huge disservice. I know all of us want to act like we don't have a past and we always did things well, but truthfully, that is not the case. How honest are you with your children about that? Mr. Crum.
Oh.
Yes, I'll come back to you, Mr. Robinson, but Mr. Crum, go ahead.
Excellent question. That was one thing that I was ashamed of, because my past, some of the things I did, I am not proud of. But I share, my life is an open book, everything. I share any and everything, relationships, the using of drugs and alcohol, whatever the case may be. I share it all with him. And he don't have to ask me those questions. You know, my experience, you know, I've been able to share with other men where they are able to look at themselves and see where they're at in that story. And they can turn around and say, I don't want to go that far. Because like you said, that greatness is in all of us. You know, God always said, you know, we're capable of all things, not some, not few, all, everything. And that's one thing that I believe, because he said in 2 Timothy that God did not give me a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. So look, one thing that I put out is, the real me, not the one that I want to be. This is who I am. So he see that person, but he hear that story, and I know in his head, he like, I can't really see that or that where you was at, but I see where you are now. Like, wow. So, but it comes from men like you, emulating you guys, jumping those hurdles. I was the track star, I was the football star, served in the service too as well, served in Desert Storm. So I've been a little bit of everywhere. I got to see it, my eyes got to see a lot of things. My foot got to step on a lot of different grounds and experience a lot of things. So those things is all that's in me that I extrude out so he can see like, well, if you've been there and that happened, then you know what, maybe I better not jump that hole, go around this way. And my son right now, and I'm so very proud of him, he's 28 years old, he's a truck driver. He just actually quit a trucking company and went and leased his own truck. He took that leap of faith because I told him he can do it. I said, dude, you can do it. I know it's going to be hard, but you can do it. My daughter, she's a therapist. And I remember her starting out, working at the city. And she's doing real good. She's like, I guess I want to say like the president of the company somewhere in Baltimore. I forgot the name of the company though, but she's sitting where she could almost sit at home and deal with her clients and, the people that's under her. I don't take credit for any of that. I don't take credit for nothing. All I tell them is that, this is who I am, this is where I've been, and this is where I'm going to go. So with that, thank you for that question. That's a good one.
And I want to say your genuineness is perfectly fine. We explain self-disclosure. You have to be wise about it. You don't have to give the raw footage per se, but to be just honest that I've experienced some things and I've overcome some things, and you can do that as well, is typically well received by our children. So Mr. Robinson, I want to come back to you. I think there was this little discussion about Eric Thomas. You brought him up. I actually just pulled him up on my phone, but what else did you want to contribute to this?
I just wanted to add, just respond to the last question that you had brought up. I think what I do is age appropriate answers, right? So I disclose things to my kids age appropriate. So something that I would disclose, I would open up to them at 5, and then something maybe a little bit more at 15 or 10 or even 18. So some things I tell them at 18, I wouldn't tell them at 5, just a point of not creating a trauma form or anything like that, but they won't understand the fullness of it.
Okay, and would you go ahead and just share a little bit about yourself as we close this segment out?
All right, cool. I'm LeVar Robinson, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Born and raised here in Baton Rouge. United States Navy submarine sailor veteran. I've been all around the world on submarines. It was a learning experience. It was a great experience. I promote the United States Navy. I think it's a very good thing to do for especially a child like myself, who had no idea of what he wanted to do after high school. And it was actually my mom who told me, "You're not about to sit on this porch and become a hooligan like the rest of these guys, like you're trying to do." So it was the between God and my mom, God ran my mom, that made me join the Navy, and I thank her for that all the time. I've been, I work with different industries throughout the chemical plant industry for the last almost 18 years. In 2017, I founded Fathers on the Mission, nonprofit fatherhood support organization, where regardless of your race, your status, it doesn't matter, just about the one common term of fatherhood. And we have different activities, different meetings that we do, and we discuss pillars of fatherhood. We don't discuss sports, politics, none of that stuff. We all about supporting and building up fathers. So if you want more information, please visit our page. It's www.fathersonamission.com, and our Facebook page is FOAM, FOAM. We do a lot of great things. We're open to partner with anyone. It's a tough thing to do, but hey, when God gives us the strength to do it, we get it done. I support fathers, support mothers also, but as the gentleman said earlier, fathers need to step up more. But there are a lot of fathers. But like I said, it need to be broadcasted more, right? It need to be broadcasted and celebrated more. So kudos to all dads who are doing the right thing. Kudos to all dads who are trying to do the right thing and are facing barriers. And we just lift up those who need to do better. Thank you.
That's excellent. And I love that we cross state lines now. So the public service announcements that we talked about earlier, they'll be going all the way to Louisiana, if I understand that correctly. Yes. And that's how things expand. So that's amazing. Definitely is. All right, Mr. Cowell, I'm going to switch to you. Actually, every father represented here who has daughters, raise their hand. Okay. I want you to think about this before you respond. Mr. Cowell, you're in the hot seat with this one. But in keeping with your past experiences, especially when you were pursuing your daughter's mother, what advice would you give to your son and daughter, or however it works out here, about dating and relationships? And I want you to keep to your past experience and be honest, and now give us wisdom that we can live by.
Thank you for that question. I already, did some research with the brothers first about that question, because that's a deep one. But I like it. I love it. The one thing I thought of first is that knowing how I was and the trials and tribulations that I went through pursuing their mother, don't settle. First of all, don't settle. And how do you not settle? By loving yourself first. That's the number one thing I think I would tell my daughters and my sons, to make sure they know who they are, what they love, what side of the bed they like to get up on, what makes them smile, what makes them cry. I want them to know them before and love them before they can pick somebody else to love. And really, my daughters, I have a couple young daughters, and right now I have an opportunity to be the first man they fall in love with. However, I also have older daughters, and though they are older, and I want to treat them like they're young sometimes, because they're your daughters. I mean, it's a big difference there when it comes to the sons, but I love my sons the same way. However, I just have to be an example. And what I would tell them, I want them to see what a real man should be through me. And once again, accountability, responsibility. See, it's always been about me. It's no longer about me anymore. It's bigger than me. I truly believe that the only reason why I'm sitting here with you guys is because God gave me one house on the block to go to. And he says, with him. And if you work for me, maybe I'll give you a life. That's basically what he said. Maybe. And so I truly believe that. And that's why I'm here to serve. And most importantly, sometimes I'm out there and I'm serving the community. I'm serving people in my circle. However, I'm not, I could forget about my daughters. I could forget about my sons. And I can't afford to do that anymore. So example is what I really want to say. And really too, allowing my kids to be who they are. That's another thing. Sometimes I want them to live my life, and that's when you said that last question. It's good in here to say I motivate them and I want them to, have the best husband in the world, the best wife in the world or whatever. But I got to make sure we're healing. See, sometimes I skip that. They're not going to listen to me if we're not healing. There might be some things that's some hurting our relationship and some things that I don't even know about. So communication and making sure we're healed will bring a stronger effect to how they respond to me. So I have to do that, because sometimes I can go on my high horse and I'll be a dad and this is what you should do. But what I got to understand that I drop the ball too at times, and I got to be real with that. So make sure that we're okay. And once we have that honesty and truth, then maybe I can affect them a little bit more positively, you know. So that's another thing. My relationship with my daughters, my relationship with my son has to be on a healthy level. I don't like to say right or wrong. I like to say healthy or unhealthy. And healthy level is where I need that to be in order for me to have any say or point any fingers on what they should be doing or who they should be with. So that's the way I feel about that.
Don't settle, love yourself, and healthy relationships. Those were the themes that I extracted. I want to say this to each of you, and I really want you to digest this and take it introspectively. I idolized my father. He could say no wrong, he could do no wrong, but he was exemplary in his role modeling and his standards. But what I looked to him for was to understand how a man was supposed to treat me. I looked to his relationship with mom to understand how a man was supposed to be as the man of the house. I looked to him as he fixed things and he attended to things. And my father was crafty. He built a carport and all of these things. So it built up my expectation for the type of man that I desired to have in my life. And I want you not to forget that along the way, even the unspoken resonates in particular, especially with your daughter. Is there anything else anybody would like to say? Yes, Mr.
Donald, you want to jump in? You're muted. Don, you're muted.
Thanks. Sorry about that. This is a loaded question. We were talking about it before we started, but I definitely had some input on it because when I was growing up, I was not a good boyfriend. I was not taught how to be a good boyfriend, nor was I had that talk about the birds and the bees. I mean, I could talk about all the things I didn't get, but with my children now, you know, daughters and sons, it's important for them to know what's in their best interest. And I'm going to tell them the brutal, honest truth about my upbringing and the things that I made mistakes on, as well as tell them the things now that I'm doing well in. You know, they have views and aspirations. You know, they're trying to find out their identity. They want to be cared for, protected, and have that safety. All these things are in the best interest of your child, their development, their independence. These are all linked. But if you're not being honest with your kid and saying, hey, I wasn't a good boyfriend, I didn't really know how to treat girlfriends, I didn't really know what was going to take place when I became a father because of the lack of knowledge or the lack of guidance. So now I'm here to give them the guidance, be the example. You know, my kids love the way I treat my wife because she's happy all the time. We're happy, we're laughing. So now both female child and male child see the example of a good man in their lives rather than, you know, go out to the world and they get that media and then next thing you know, they're at the strip club or, you know, in the back alley, either way. But it's important to be brutally honest with these kids because I'm telling you, I wasn't a good boyfriend, but I had to get myself together to be a good husband.
I was going to say, but you championed now and progressed to being a role model and a good husband. And I say that development along the way is critical, that earlier you didn't have it, but along the way you obtained it. So thank you for being a stand-up man. Senator Powell?
Ms. Harris, I wanted to piggyback off of what you said earlier about a father, because for my dad, he was, and he is, by the way, still, my dad is 73, I think he's 37, but the idea that growing up, what I saw, my dad was in the house, right? He may have not come to my basketball games or every single thing that I did, but the beauty of it was that I still, when I got home, my father was there. And I know for me, for some people, they didn't have that. He was in the house, but I saw my dad. I saw him. If the car was broke, I saw him fix the car. If the roof was leaking, I saw him fix the roof. If the yard needed to be cut, fixed, or raked, I saw him tell us to do it. No, but I saw him get out there with us. I saw him be a disciplinarian. He wasn't the most empathetic person in the world, but my mother came in to kind of give that empathy. I saw my dad when my mother was real sick, when she was disabled and couldn't walk. My dad took over the duties of being the person who cooked in the house. It was a team. So what I saw and what I would tell anybody is when they're looking for, especially when my daughter, she's very young, she's not even 2 years old yet. But when she does grow up and she's looking for a partner, a husband, I would say that she needs to look for someone who is equally yoked, someone who is going to get the job done, not somebody who is, my wife feels the same way. You know, we will be screening her boyfriends whenever that time comes, but you're not gonna come and be driving around in the car that she has, whether she paid for it or whether we paid for it. You ain't gonna drop her off at work and be like, well, I'll see you later, because we're not raising a daughter or a person to be a to nurture and take care of somebody else's problem. So what I saw growing up in a father, my dad, sometimes he was very, very hard. He was not the nicest person in the world some days, but he was still the same dad that would get up in the morning and cook me a sausage and egg sandwich before I walked to school, and would watch me get to the top of the hill at the bus stop. No matter how mad he was the night before or the day before, it was still the same father that you understood that, yeah, okay, he was angry about this. But at the end of the day, when you wake up in the morning to go to school, they made sure, one, you went to school. Two, he made sure you bend that corner. He made sure you had food in your stomach. Everybody ain't made like that. I was a coach, and I remember sometimes I would bring bananas to the games before the kids played. And would you believe these kids would be with us until 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock that day, and their parents didn't send them to football practice or the football games with a meal. So I realized that everybody's not equally yoked, and everybody did not grow up the way that I did. We didn't have a whole lot. We always had a broke down car in the yard. I remember sometimes my dad would ride a bicycle to work and my mom would catch my aunt. But I know there was love in the house, and I knew there were two people who were working hard to try to make it work. So when I see a father, my expectation of a father is you get it done no matter what. Whatever else you're gonna do, you get it done.
You just took me on a journey just then, because a lot of it cosigns with my upbringing and what I experienced. And what I'm going to emphasize here is this. For those of you who are fathering young men, and to young men who may be watching this, learn some stuff. My telephone call today was to my husband. Are we putting hurricane shutters up? I didn't say, can I help you? I didn't say, you want me to do it? It was not even in my realm of consideration that I was going to have anything to do with hurricane shutter. And my husband was like, I got it. Don't worry about it. We're good. If something happens to the car, I was just recently in a traffic collision, and so many different variables where you have all of this stuff going on. And I heard my husband on the phone making arrangements for my vehicle to be repaired, where he was going to take it, what was going to happen and everything. So I didn't even have to worry about it. To be able to fix a tire, to be able to repair something in the home, teach and learn. And that's really role modeling, being a man. A lot of women are very versatile. I'm a city girl, and I have to catch up in that realm. I'm kind of dainty. However, the man, there is an expectation that he can get the job done. So excellent. And Mr. Cowell, I'm going to come back to you to close this segment out. If you introduce yourself and what you do.
All right, I'm Tyrone Cowell. I'm a father of and a husband, father of 5 girls and 2 boys. I'm a founder, one of the founders of Team, Together Everyone Accomplishes More, an organization that invests in our time and resources and most importantly, love into the community. That's basically just what we do, and willing to team up with anyone that's doing as such. I also am a sports guy, trying to lay off of trying to make my son be be who I wasn't, but that's another story. But like I said before, I'm just here to serve. I really believe that. When I say serve, it's a broad statement. That doesn't just mean that I just lay down and you know, be a servant, so to speak. But I'm here to serve and give back. I've been taken for way too long, you know, and that's not even on a physical level. That's on an emotional and spiritual level. So it's time to give back. And that's truly why I'm here. And I'm here to see how I can, what can I bring to the table, right? And see what else I can do to be useful again. You know, if it ain't about me being useful, then it's not good for a guy like me. So I'm just here to grow, remain teachable, and try to be the best father I can be, the best human being I can be. That's who I am.
Thank you very much. And if we could all bow our heads right now, because Mr. Carroll said he has 5 daughters. So I want y'all to go ahead and send us some timber for him right now and help him out because he's going to need it. I'm just saying. Woo! All right. Mr. Adams, this question is going to be directed to you, but I want everyone on the panel to answer it. Okay? The question is, how do you balance fatherhood with the other demands, roles, and responsibilities of your life? How do you balance fatherhood with the other demands, roles, and responsibilities of your life? Because what I'm finding with a lot of young children, especially young boys, even though you're out being productive, you're out servitude and making a lot of things happen and doing major moves, your absence is significant. So I want you to think about that for a moment. And Mr. Adams, we're going to start with you. And then I'm just going to call names and we're going to go around to everybody. Remembering now you're helping those who are trying to and actually are accomplishing major things to understand how to find balance within it all.
So when you asked that question, I thought about a quote of my own. Of all the things I sought to be, father was the first. I had this dream. Everybody else wanted to be a doctor, lawyer. I just wanted to be a father. I had stage 4 cancer a few years back, and it was hard for me to acclimate myself to being a disabled, handicapped person. I'm still really not with the idea of being disabled and handicapped because I'm gonna be able to do something. So when I was, you know, going through this at the beginning stages, I had to actually change my mind and be like, you know what? I'm somebody different now. I'm not the regular Don. I'm not Chubb from back in the day, Don. I'm Donald right now. And it's been a priority, just like being a father. Fatherhood is first with me, and everything I do revolves around that. I don't really do too much outside of my family and me being a parent, because that is my job, it's my duty, it's my responsibility, and I own up to it. Like, I'm honored to take on this role. So for other fathers, parents out there, you have to, within yourself, take on your role and know what your role is, and then handle those responsibilities and build your life around that. There are parents out there that want to go out, party, hang out, still enjoy that part of their life. You can do that with your children. You can do things like that with your family, but you have to make sure that you know what your role is in life and play that role. If you're a young father out here, stop trying to go to the club, be fly, hang out, mac females and all that. Be a father, be a man, hold yourself accountable, and be a leader in your family and community. It's necessary and it's worth it. I get so much joy from being a father. So you gotta change your mind and know what your role is and embrace it.
Awesome. Wow. Top priority, being a father, and you enjoy being a father. It's not a task, it's not a chore. You enjoy being a father. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no job better. I quit working jobs in the corporate world so I can be a full-time father. I was born in Chicago, Illinois. I had the roughest upbringing you could possibly think of, but right now I started this organization, Finding Fathers, to help fatherless children around the world and build a community of support for these fatherless children. There's no child gonna be left behind if I'm gonna do.
Amen. I love it. Senator Powell?
That's a wonderful question. I feel like for me, I'm conditioned to like what it feels like for my child to run up to me and say, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. It's like I just walked out of the door and came back in, but she's still young, very, very young. And for me, it's a priority because for all the things that I'm involved in, I figure out a way to merge my family into that. My professional and public life, as well as my private life. Now, I do like to figure out ways to keep my private life private, but at the same time, when I'm at an event, I want to bring my wife and kid. My child has, before Corona, before COVID, had become acclimated to being at a lot of different events and on the scene of a lot of places because she would get that exposure that other people have not had. My daughter has been on the Senate floor because other people's daughters have been on the Senate floor. So why not mine? My daughter has been in the Capitol. My daughter has been in my office in Tallahassee, in my office here in Palm Beach County. My daughter has been to a lot of different places. She may not realize or recognize what she's in the midst of, but if I'm not around and she sees a picture or a poster of me, she'll point and say, Daddy. If she sees me on TV, she'll say, Daddy, Daddy's on TV. So it's a merging of my life, balancing. The balancing act is, as a state senator, I say a life of service is a life that counts. And while I serve the public, it's my responsibility to make sure I serve my family. I hold my wife in high regard. She is the queen of the house. And my daughter, I love my daughter. And there's a difference. Remember, when you love your child, there's a difference between loving your child and being in love with your child. I love my child because I will correct her and make sure she does everything to be on the straight and narrow and the right path. And loving her means that when she gets a certain age, being able to let her go to live her own life. But being in love with your child allows you or puts you in a point where you'll let them get away with things. You will put that child, as you should, put your child first, but you'll say, oh, she's just a kid. You'll laugh when she's doing things that are wrong. And we have to remember, as fathers, as mothers, as parents, we should love our children, but let's not be in love with our children. People shouldn't have a child because they need something to love them. Find a mate. I love my wife in a different way than I love my child, right? Because my wife is my mate. She is my partner. She is what we do together. I am in love with my wife, but I love my child because I want her to be successful in life. And I merge them into everything that I do because what I do separately is a part of our family as a whole. And that will transfer to her as she becomes an adult. There's so many people that are in high positions because their parents were somebody, a governor, their parents were somebody who sat on the Supreme Court. My daughter will grow up knowing she doesn't know what it is right now, but at some point she'll recognize, well, my daddy had these t-shirts and his face was on these flyers and all this stuff. I'm supposed to be here. When she walks into a room with other people and they say, well, what are you doing here? Her response will be, because I'm supposed to be. My question is, how did you get into the room, right? Because we should put them in positions where they will be able to be successful. There's nothing more powerful than the passionate, committed mind. And if you teach your child to be passionate and committed to success, they will not stray from it.
Wow, that's powerful. Yes, absolutely. That's very powerful. You have applause from the panel here regarding that.
Brothers.
All right, Jacoby, let's have you weigh in on that as well. Balance inside of fatherhood.
Thank you for that question. So for me, starting young man of distinction, I had to have the right mind frame into making sure that I'm getting ready to be a father figure to other young men, but not neglecting. I have 3 sons of my own at home to make sure that I'm dad to them and I'm still 24/7 accessible to them, as well as I am to these young men that I mentor now. So the beauty of of Young Men of Distinction is my oldest son is part of the group. So for me and him, when he hears a lot of the transparency and the vulnerability I am with the other young men, for him it's like he gets an eye-opening experience. He used to see me in a whole different lens, which is for me is like, but we still, because how we bond off of video games, and we are LeBron, Team LeBron. So our household is LeBron James all day. So we bond off of sports. But now, now that he's a part of Young Men of Distinction, I get into now tell him that, you are a founding member. So, and I asked him, what does that mean to you? He says, no, like you're right now setting a legacy for your younger brothers to follow. They see their older brother in this group. They gonna look at you and be like, I want to be a part of it as well. My middle son, he's already ready to be in the group. And my junior, my baby son, he already be with every Zoom meeting I have, every workshop. He's there on my lap every single time. So I know him being 2 years old, he's soaking it in. And I enjoy being around my boys every day. As far as the young men, I cherish every single day I'm able to interact with them. Right now with COVID-19, it's been rough, and I tell them all the time I miss them. Because like I said, I tell them I love them. I tell them that, I treat y'all like my sons, and I value my relationship with every single one, individually, because they all have told me different stories that, for me was very eye-opening. But I found that as for me to be the trust, I gained their trust, and I trust the process. And then, me being an older brother, so I have to set the tone for my sisters and brothers for them to follow. So I know, like, the path I'm on now is a path that was destined by God. Being able to juggle so many titles, I treat it as, it's just a walk in the park. Even my boss asked me at work, he's like, I know you have a lot going on. How do you handle everything that you got going on? I said, for me, it's nothing. But for everybody in the outside world, it'll just be like chaos. Like, how does he do it? I'm like, it's a walk in the park for me. It comes natural to be able to juggle so many different titles, because I know when I leave this earth, I know what legacy I want to live. So that's what strives me every single day, to be the best father, the best son, the best husband, the best grandson, all the other many titles. That's what inspires me. It's like, when I leave this earth, I want everybody to say, Jacoby, he was a good man. He was a good father. He was a man, everything. So that's what I say about juggling many titles.
And I must emphasize that all of you have laid out very well that it's keeping things into perspective that is important, and maintaining proper priority. You have to make fatherhood a priority. You have to invest in being a good man and a good father. And I think that's essential and very important. And you've all emphasized that well. Mr. Robinson, what is your response? Balance in fatherhood.
Oh man, that's a good one. Also, I gotta give a hats off to everything these gentlemen have shared. I think it's one of the most important things, right? One thing I share with parents when I'm doing my mentoring, we do mentoring with kids, parents also, is that we brought these kids here. We made them, right? So when we made these kids, all the partying time is over with. It's done. That becomes priority. Like, I can't remember who said it, but okay, yeah, you can do something way now and here whenever time permits. But that goes on the back burner now. If you don't want the responsibility of taking care of a child, don't have them. So that becomes priority. When I first had kids, I didn't know that. Again, my father didn't teach me that. I didn't realize that. Those words were never taught to me. So I had to learn over time that, hey, LeVar, things are not going to get better until you put in the time to make them better. So now at this stage of my life, I understand, it's what's important. So with my organization, if I have to do with my child, that's going to get put on the back burner, right? There are weekends, I have split custody with my baby girl. So when she comes home, if I have an event, either one, she's going with me or I'm not going. Period. Point blank. We have to manage that time effectively. My kids are very important. Spend that quality time. Like I think when somebody said something, each one of them, you have to spend time with them collectively and individually, right? So it is very, very important that we manage that time, even when it comes to work. I know guys who are workaholics, the job demands them to be at work all the time and they spend minimum amount of time with their kids. I think situations like those are just a personal decision to where you have to have those conversations with the kids to let them know why you're not around all the time. But on the shorthand of it, you have to admit you can't come home after, if you work in the 7-12, you can't come home and get 12 hours of sleep. You got to come home and get 3 or 4 hours because now you got to come home and do things around the house and spend time with the kids. So we can't use excuses of taking care of the home and working as an excuse not to spend time with our kids, but because again, they didn't ask to come here. They didn't. We laid down and made them. So we got to spend that time with them. So like one gentleman, kudos to him, he said he quit a job so that he can spend more time being a full-time father, right? Some of us can, some of us can't. But regardless of what it is, there is a time always to where we can spend more time with our kids if we desire to, right? So again, I hope this teaching that we are sharing, this conversation is helping someone to realize, you know what? I got to spend less time with the fellas and more time with the kids. I got to spend less time chasing the ladies and chase my kids, because without me, without the father, they have a low success rate. It can't happen, but it's going to be hard. So again, with myself, I try to plan things around them, especially with my things that I volunteer with. It's time when, like, I had some of my mentees calling me. The mom called and said, Mr. Robinson, we ain't heard from you in a while. I was like, yeah, I apologize. I ain't been able to come around, work, kids. I had to take a step back from that, but then when time came available, I started back mentoring but I also had to balance with myself. Tell me, okay, Lionel, I need to manage this time a little better to where it's not as much. Yes, they're going to be expecting me, but have to also let them know that, hey, I do have a family at home. I do have kids that I have to go see and spend time with. So it's a managing game, but it all boils down to that we made these kids. We made them, and not everybody's in that great position of being able to go home to their kids every day. Some of them have time with and broken families, and so we got to do what we got to do. So I encourage everyone, all guys, regardless if your kids are in the home with you or outside the home with you, do what you can within your powers, within the powers of the government that you can, to spend time with your kids. When those hurdles come, fight them the best you can, because a lot of people don't understand the struggle, the power, the system that's out there to keep our kids that are not in the home with us, to keep them away from us, to keep the numbers and the system up. So that's another topic. But again, it's all about managing time and desire.
And I like, as several of you have said, to incorporate your children into your life and your activity. I think that's mind-blowing, but that's the solution. I don't have to not spend time with my child because I can incorporate my child into the things that I do. And now this child has inside track. This child is a part of it, and this child is recognizing, and I'm not sacrificing in absent. So that's a solution for anybody who's struggling. And I pray they catch on to that. Jamarcia, what are your thoughts on this?
Yes, ma'am. Well, for me, family is my first ministry. That comes first. And for me, I actually kind of like Brother Donald. I quit my job, 2 months ago, because I was getting home super late, missing time with my daughter, like I said, who just turned 1. So now I have another job. Now I go in about 3:30 in the morning, and I'm home by usually 1 o'clock. So I can spend the whole day with my family. So sometimes you have to make these tough decisions, but me being able to see my daughter's first step I can't explain that. And I wouldn't had that opportunity if I was at my other job. Also, I want to just really give credit to my wife, speaking on fatherhood, because my father, amazing, but I was born in Shreveport, Louisiana, then moved to Dallas, but all my family's still in Shreveport. And I was never taught how to show my emotions. And I think a lot of men aren't taught that. A lot of men are stand up straight, no crying, this and that. And we are never taught how to show our emotions. So I thank my wife for allowing me to I used to hold a lot of stuff in. So now I'm able to express myself. And I think my daughter sees that. And my wife, she literally taught me how to express my emotions, because I wasn't taught. Like, even my dad today, he is not emotional, and I'm still working on it because I didn't see my grandfather and my dad be emotional. So I just think as fathers and as women, I don't want to change the narrative, but even as women, give your men some time. Let them grow into being emotional, because a lot of men are not taught on being having those emotions. So I definitely want to say that just any man out there, do what you got to do, but don't be the father where your daughter literally neglects you because you were doing all these other things and she felt like she never had daddy at home and never spent time with daddy. I even play semi-pro football now because I wanted my wife to see me play football, even though I've been knowing her since 5. She never seen me play football in person, and I wanted my daughter to see me play. So she comes to all the games. I'm 28. I told her, okay, when you hit 4, I'm hanging the cleats up. But I want her, like they've saying, bring them to your activities. Like, I wanted my family to see me do something that I was passionate about, and vice versa. I'm going to be there for them. So I would just say that, but man, I see a lot of kids who neglect their parents because they were doing this and that and this and that, especially being preachers. Like, you're never with your family, you're always in the church. My wife, she's a PK, and we've had conversations where it's like, man, I kind of feel like I missed on with being with my dad, amazing man. That's like that's my God. But I don't want to be that man that's always gone. I got to do what I got to do so my daughter can say daddy was there.
I love it. And we're bringing this to a close. We've been 1 hour and 30 minutes in, and it actually has gone very quickly. When you're doing something that you really enjoy, time flies. So Mr. Cowell, you're next. Mr. Crum, you're going to close us out. I'm going to give closing statements, and then I'll pass the baton to Jacoby. So Mr. Cowell?
So same question, right? Same question?
Yes.
Okay.
Balance and fatherhood.
Right. You guys all said, the weird thing about a father's love language is that it seemed like to me we're all speaking the same language right now. And that's a beautiful thing. That confirms that I might be doing the right thing. However, I love what Senator Powell said about coming into the house and your daughter's waiting there for you and greeting you, daddy, and that's what reminds me what's important. Because you guys said it. I don't believe there's such thing as a balance. I think there's such thing as prioritizing, which you guys all said, right? So, and that's what I choose to do, which is family first. However, I do have a little thing on the in love thing, right? Like, it's about perception, right? And when you said in love, I feel like I'm in love with my family. I feel like I'm in love with my daughter. However, I feel like God's in love with me too. And what that means is that I have to love people like God loves me, no matter who it is. Now, there's levels, there's dynamics to this, right? But when God's in love with me, but he also gives me trials and tribulations to go through, right? He also tells me the truth. He also is honest with me, right? And so I feel like I can be in love with my family and also be honest with them too, not sugarcoat things with them, and come to the table and have a real talk. I think that's the epitome of love, right? Like giving, telling people, because I always had these people around me that told me what I wanted to hear instead of what I needed to hear, and that didn't get me anywhere. So now if you have some family around you and they kind of irk you a little bit because they don't tell you always what you want to hear, keep them around, because that's a beautiful family member to have. And so that's what I feel about that. My wife, you said something about your wife. One thing my wife taught me, and I don't know if I heard this before, but I know what this means, but sometimes you got to hear it. She said, I'm going to love you no matter if you love me back. Right. And I'm be honest with you, that I understand that, but hearing that's the true epitome of unconditional love. That's God love. Because the truth of the matter is, imagine if this life was fair. I'm just talking from my personal life. I'm pretty happy that life ain't fair. I'm pretty happy that I got God's grace on my side, because things would be a little bit different. I probably wouldn't be here with you guys. being able to talk about family. So the truth of the matter is, like I said before, and I'll stay on that subject, I'm just here to do one thing: serve, right? Family first, serve. Anything other than that is uncivilized. And you guys said one more thing too, is my job. I've been, teeter-tottering on whether, I want to do what I do, and not so much because I love what I do, as far as being a substance abuse counselor, but the pandemic has caused me to really look at sacrifice, right? I have a young daughter. I don't want to come home and get her sick, and even if she does get sick, she gets better and have long-term, I have to think about life a little differently. Once again, it ain't about me anymore. If it was just me, maybe I'd take that chance. But now I have to think about things like that, which takes sacrifice. And I hear a lot of my mentors say, no sacrifice, no movement, and so that's the tough things about being a father, by being just in manhood, period, or womanhood, making tough decisions and sticking by it no matter what people think. So I just have to, I'm not perfect. When I come home and my daughter says, hey, daddy, and waves, and daddy this and daddy that reminds me what's important. That reminds me that, yeah, I do all this other stuff, which it goes both ways. But the truth of the matter is, my commitment starts at home. It really does. And then I could be better elsewhere. So that's what I think about that.
I love it. My commitment starts at home. All right, Mr. Crum, last but not least, you're on the hot seat for closing this out. Balance in fatherhood.
Balance in fatherhood. Well, I'll go back. I mean, all of y'all have said a lot of the things that I've already experienced. And Brother Paul, I think he was in my house. I think we had the same father. I mean, dude, everything. My life, starting out, my father was that man. He was that guy that fixed the roof. Was no plumber that ever came in the house. There was no electrician that ever came in the house. There was nobody that did it. Nobody. My father did that, and he was always there. We used to go on fishing trips. We used to do all kinds of things. But I know there's a lot of young men out there that has not experienced that, and they look for that figure in other men. If you are that man and you are of age, what God has shown me is that what seeds are you sowing? Because you will reap what you sow. There's 4 seasons he showed me. And each of these seasons, something's going to harvest. The man that I want to be is that man that's already in me. I got this mechanism that's right and wrong. And I know what's right. And I know what's wrong because it give me that feeling. Family showed me that family is first foremost. Like the man said, I laid there, I made this my responsibility. I wasn't that good father. I was that guy in the club. I was the guy to do some of the things that a father was not supposed to do. But in my mind, from what I saw, being that child, what a family supposed to be was always there. So I had something to come back to. Then meeting other gentlemen, experiencing, my horizon, I was able to emulate what you guys are doing in my family, to bring that kind of peace into my home, because my mind wasn't always right. But what God has shown me, that if I sow good seeds,
Yeah.
I'm going to get a harvest. Just because it ain't coming in the spring, keep on working at it, my brother. If it ain't coming in the fall, keep on working at it, in the brother. Because when it comes during that season, you're going to see it and you're going to reap that harvest. My God has shown me that, that man that we're supposed to be is the man that we already is. That one that's in there, that right and wrong mechanism. We know what's right, we know what's wrong, and you know who I'm talking to. It's right to be there with my wife. not hanging out in the club. It's right to sit down with my son or my daughter and do some homework, you know what I'm saying, and do some algebra, do some things, you know, to help them, you know, to be better. You know, or that kid that I know next door or down the street that, you know, need a little bit of guidance. So my home, my kids, I'm gonna say that I wasn't that father. I was not that father, but I'm that father today. You know, I had to go through those experiences because I didn't have that figure, like I heard somebody say, that told me these things. I had to see these things, and that picture was implanted in my mind. And I always had something to go back to, so you know who you are. That picture was already planted in you. That daddy, like the guy said, when he stood at the door and the little girl come running up, daddy, daddy, daddy. I saw that at the age of 5. I wanted to be that man. I wanted to be that man. I wanted my daughter and my son to run up to me, not because they wanted some candy or something. No, daddy. My son the same way. They call me all the time. They tell me they love me before we get off the phone. Always. Always saying thank you. You know, even for my wrongdoings. But today I get to be that father today. So if you be that father, be that father today.
Wow.
Thanks for sharing.
Wow. I want to say, for having moderated now these 3 series as a woman, I have gleaned so much, and I have so much more respect for the man. But I want to leave this message with you. I pull this together as a message to you, and I'm going to coin this, dear Black man. Not necessarily that you have to be a father, but this is a message to the Black. Dear Black man, encourage yourself, believe in yourself, and love yourself. Never doubt who you are, and always believe that you can. Always believe that your efforts are worthy. Always believe that you can elevate, even if nobody else does. Strive to be self-motivated. If it's not happening, start it. If it's not being done, do it. If it's not being talked about, speak about it. No matter what, someone will always be watching you, whether it be other races, family members, friends, children, women, other men, etc. Know that the pressure mounts on your shoulder, but kings carry the burden, and they carry it well. They carry it in a way that other people never knew existed. So you're clearing the pathway for those to come. Show them your strength. Show them your emotion. Show them your healing. Show them your wisdom. Show them, and show them well, your Blackness. Dear Black man, show them. God bless you. And I'm going to turn this over to Jacob.
First and foremost, I'd like to give a salute to my fathers that are on this panel this evening. I want to say thank you for taking time out of you guys' busy schedule to support a vision of mine that, you know, in my eyes, I see it moving across the world, seeing it being, you know, the scope of Black fatherhood being changed as we speak. I'm claiming it now. Because the message that I heard today was very enriching. I've learned a lot, you know. All these A Father's Love Language series have really touched me and really helped me be a better father to my 3 sons. And like I said, I pull from every father that has been on the panel. And again, I like to say thank you. I'd like to thank you for Sabrina for again being our gracious moderator for all 3 of A Father's Love Language, and also supporting the vision behind this. And I'd like to thank my lovely team of young men of distinction and the young men that are a part of it, that are watching. I thank you for, without y'all, it wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be a young man of distinction. And if people are, so that's why I like to end off tonight by just saying thank you to everybody.
Hey, Jacoby.
Yes, sir.
Before I let you go, I just want to say something. I'm a politician. Politicians got to say something. I want to thank you for allowing me to join this group of spectacular men. It's a powerful thing when we talk about imagery. So I want to tell each and every one of you, keep doing what you're doing, gentlemen. I would be remiss, and my political friends and my friends in leadership positions would get after me for not saying we've got to make sure that we are continuing to read more books and show our children that we are reading books and reading the newspaper. The election is coming up, not just the general election in November, but we also have a primary. Know who the candidates are. And some people will say, my vote doesn't matter, but let me tell you something. Businesses give money to campaigns. Why? Because politicians create policies that work in favor of businesses, and people, they will do everything to get your vote. So when you don't vote, you really, really don't have a voice. And I can get more into that. The census is coming up. When it comes to knowing what's happening in your own community, making sure you get money in your own communities, that skate park that you may want that another community has, or the basketball park, or upgrades to your own park. That's why you need to do your census. And remember, the conversation is driven by us today, but bringing money back into our own communities, because he who controls the money does truly control the power. Gentlemen, Jacoby, I'm proud of you for continuing with your vision. Gentlemen, I want to thank you all for allowing me to be on this call. And I'll leave you all with this. Everything that you're doing is amazing. But there is also more in each and every one of us. Be fearless in your pursuit. There's going to be somebody out there who has more money than you. There's going to be somebody out there who has more pull than you. There's going to be somebody out there who's got all these different things that you think you don't have. But when you trust in God and you know the process, your natural combined with his super will allow you to be able to do above, exceedingly, and beyond. Trust the process. With that, remember, a life of service is a life that counts. Thank you all for allowing me to spend a couple hours with you tonight.
Thank you so much as well, all of you. You have enriched my life. And I want to again call you to task on the public service announcement. 3 months. Let's saturate our highway with goodness and show them what we're really all about. Let's do that. Be committed to it and let it continue. Don't waver. God bless you.
God bless everybody.